This episode of Dat Game is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. Let's jump in and see if the sequel's always being bad rule applies to games too. Hello, Internet Magic Man here from Gamebreaker TV, bringing you another episode of Dat Game, Gamebreaker's official First Look series. Today, we're jumping into the North American version of Ragnarok Online 2, just released earlier this month. Now, some of you may have been playing the game for a while across seas when it was IP blocked, but not really IP blocked. But now that it's official on the state side here, we're going to jump in and spend about 15 minutes or so poking around in the game, checking out some of the basics, and finding out if it's a game for you. So first off, character creation. Now, in Ragnarok 2, it's important that we get this out of the way at the beginning. There are some carryovers from ideas in the original Ragnarok Online. That's not to say that the two games are similar. In fact, if you were a huge fan of Ragnarok Online 2 might not be the game for you. We'll get to the systems as we go, but I don't want to get caught up in comparing it to the original. If you played the original and you loved it, you know what it was all about. Treat this as a totally different game, but borrowing some of the concepts, storylines, and systems. So, off of character creation, you have 5 classes: your swordsman, thief, archer, magician, and acolyte, available to you in the US. Now, you do have a advanced job class, a kind of a second class that comes a little bit later in your leveling, where, for example, we're going to roll a magician here. Magic Man. Makes sense. You can offshoot that into a wizard or a sorcerer as you level. So there is some advancement later. Now, character creation, in all honesty, it's not that great. A couple preset faces, hair, voices, those kinds of things. Not huge and in-depth. In addition to class, though, you do have to pick a job. Now, in this case, you have one of 4 choices. You can be a chef, an alchemist, an artisan, or a blacksmith. Think of that, obviously, as your crafting. There's going to be different ways throughout the game that your character can collect crafting materials, whether that be from nodes on the ground or monsters. Once they're dead, you can kind of harvest materials from their body. Ooh. Let's get rolled here. Magic Man already taken. Let's add a couple letters and jump in. Come on. Really? Alright, good. Now, one thing we should say up front is that the game, although it is officially launched and it is available on Steam, there are performance issues with the game, and to be brutally honest, there's quite a few of them. Sometimes you may have issues getting connected to the actual servers to play. There's quite a few bugs that I really wouldn't have expected to see in a game that wasn't outside of, that was already outside of a beta, so a bit weird. And depending on where you live, the publisher may vary. It may be Gravity or Asiasoft or PlayPark, but Gravity Corp is the real big developer behind it, and I think they maybe should have waited a little bit or fine-tuned some things. But as you can see here, basic combat and questing is going to be very familiar to most MMORPG players. You've got the tab targeting, hotbarring your abilities. Your quests are the typical exclamation point, question mark type style. I do got to admit, it is kind of cute, if I'm allowed to say that. But yeah, the art style is one that you're either going to love because you appreciate that kind of chibi-type look to some of the monster models, or it's just going to be too cutesy and not for you. And that game, the whole game kind of follows that trend where it's just either going to be your cup of tea or it's really not. There's no real middle ground, at least as far as I've been able to find with Ragnarok Online 2. So we're going to loot some things, turn in a few quests. You will notice at the bottom of your screen, underneath your hotbar, you actually have 2 experience bars. You have one on the left. Fantastic leveling music. That's the one thing they nailed. Love it. Love it. Bum, bum. You have one experience bar on the left. That is your class in this case, magician experience bar. Fill that up, you level. The bar on the right is your job. So as you gather materials or create things through the crafting system, you will gain experience on that side. So you're leveling both as you go. And only certain actions will give you experience in either one or the other bar. So completing a quest, a standard quest, will usually net you your class XP, while sitting down and crafting a few items or harvesting a few things will grant you your job XP. As far as animations, most of the time they're pretty neat, you know, as nice colorful animations, but again, it's one of the things that the game is unreliable on. Sometimes the animations don't go off, sometimes they go off without a sound effect, sometimes looting gets funny. It's one of those games that if you're going to sink your teeth into it, you're going to have to look past, in my opinion, a few different flaws along the way. That's not to say that it's a bad game, but being compared to the original Ragnarok, it's going to hurt it. Let's go over here and turn this bad boy in. Come, where? Oh, okay. You are laying down. Wanna get up and take the damn quest? Oh, I guess not. All right. All right, now, as far as your main class progression, there's multiple systems in place, and we're going to get to a lot more systems. Get ready to learn some systems here. There's multiple systems to advance your actual character. Now, some of them are pretty basic, and you're familiar with some of the concepts already. Let's get this guy out of the way, and then we'll open up ye old menu here and start going through a couple of them. There is PvP available in the game. However, the Coliseum, the main part that I wanted to get to, is level 30. So you're going to have to check that one out, but more on that in a little bit. So here's your main advancement, where you allocate points every time you level to gain a point in stamina or intelligence or vitality. It may cost you 2, 4, 6 total points, depending on how far you're leveling. Now, we're at the beginning of the game, so it usually takes about 2 to 3 points to level most of these, and you get your little lovely graph there. In addition to standard questing to gain these levels and get this advancement, you do have what's called the Kahara system, or Kara, depending on where you're at in the world. Think of this as kind of like a little bingo card or an achievement sheet that's separated by chapters here, obviously chapter 4 being more difficult than 1. If you complete these little challenges, which could be as easy as gather 5 of this particular leaf, or kill 7 of these, or just little offshoot achievement type things, you will get additional experience and pluses. The downside of that, though, is although it's a pretty cool system and a nice way of tracking achievements and something additional to quests, there do seem to be some in there that rely on a cash shop purchase. There's one where you had to get 3 of these 25-slot bags, and the only place that I could find them was the cash shop. So you higher level players, let us know below. Does that hold true throughout the entire game? You also have your skill system that you see here. Right now, I'm just a wizard. I'm a magician. As I level up, I will be able to either break into the wizard or the sorcerer. So for now, I've pretty much got 3 basic abilities that I'm going to start sinking points into. An ice attack, a fire attack, and then a poison type attack. And we'll sink points in to make those stronger and stronger. We'll work our way down and eventually become a wizard or a sorcerer. So Firebolt gets a level up here. And we are back on our way. Da, da, da. It's glowing. Now, you will notice that pretty much all the quests are your standard kill, fetch quests, things like that, your escort quests. Nothing too demanding. Every once in a while, there's an elite monster to go after, things like that. The game does feature, again, PvP and dungeons. However, you have to level up to a certain extent to be able to do them. Now, I did mention the Coliseum earlier, and that is one piece of PvP that really intrigued me, so I want to take you through it. At level 30, you'll be able 2 different times a day to go into the Coliseum and do battle. What it does is it takes a bunch of players in there. They do battle for a time limit. Everybody gets points. At the end of that time limit, the round is over. Certain number of people with the lowest points are eliminated, eliminated, whoever's left, they go into round 2 and duke it out again. There's 5 rounds where it keeps eliminating players all the way, and if you're alive at the end, you get kudos and rewards and points and great things like that. So, pretty unique style PvP, but you do have to do some substantial leveling before you can take part in it. So we're going to craft a little bit here. You can see that I am sitting here making things. And again, it's typical. I don't want to say Ragnarok Online 2 borrows a lot from predecessors, but to be honest, it does. It keeps some of the core systems from the original Ragnarok, but warps them into things that you're more familiar with some standard MMOs that are on the market. Crafting here, obviously, is as long as you have a lot of the mats that you need, you can click and craft one or craft all, and you get this lovely little animation depending on your particular craft as it levels up and you keep getting your items. And as you level your crafting, there is a trainer that you can go to purchase your training, your crafting abilities, and make new patterns. So, again, pretty standard. I like the animation. I think it's cool that I'm sitting here using tools instead of just waving my hands, but in essence, it is just a very standard crafting system, just like the questing system, the targeting system. A lot of the hardcore stuff that was in the original... see, there's a Kara mission just completed there, so another one of my little blocks filled in. But, again, pretty standard. A lot of the more hardcore elements of the original Ragnarok were kind of made easier in Ragnarok Online 2. Crafting, fill the bar. Am I going to level? This is going to be close. And no, I'm not going to make it. Oh, I'm not going to make it. Well, we'll sit here and we'll make a few more. Ultimately, Ragnarok Online is going to feel comfortable to a lot of MMO players. I don't know how long of a draw it's going to have, though. It has the original Ragnarok to thank for a huge level of interest, but there's clear differences between the two games. Also, the cash shop does vary a little bit and wander into the pay-to-win or super convenience items. Yes, it is. There's a costume-based system, and everybody wants to get different types of costumes and things like that along the way. So if you're a costume guy or girl and that's your thing, great. The cash shop's for you. There are luck boxes as far as being random what you'll get. There's boosts, everything you would typically expect in a cash shop. But there are some of those odd items, like the 25-slot bag, which does lead to a Kara system quest. So, kind of a little bordering on pay-to-win there. Also, if you take a look, there are tools in the cash shop that enabled you to socket your costumes so that you can add augments to them, which just, again, kind of borders that pay-to-win category of you are paying to get some type of play advantage in the game. So you're going to have to make the call on whether it's too pay to win for you or if it's not pay to win at all in your book, since we all have our own little measuring sticks on those. If you're a fan of the original Ragnarok, the card system does come back into play here. Let's see, here we go with the conversion. Yeah, so basically a penny a point. And you get bonuses if you spend some huge stuff. And if you caught my Steam name there, go ahead and friend me up. No big deal. I wanted you to see the cash shop prices. No big deal. And some of the items in there are pretty expensive, too. So I think they'll have to do a little tweaking. Again, the card system, if you were a fan of that, it's back in this game. Except there's a key difference. If you played the original Ragnarok, the card system was based on your gear. You applied the cards, which were basically stat increases for those of you that didn't play the game. Think of it as like an offshoot of gemming, stuff like that. You placed the cards on your gear, and you got the bonuses. In Ragnarok Online 2, the cards are tied to your character instead of tied to individual pieces of gear. Ragnarok Online ran into a huge problem with producing more endgame content because some of the rare pieces of equipment, people were bypassing them. They weren't going after them because they were able to take a lower piece of equipment with higher cards on it and outweigh the benefit of having the more rare or the more powerful or exceedingly rare equipment. So in this title, they've decided to put the cards on the character. Now, the card system's also gone through a few different changes as beta has gone on. It originally was a silver, bronze, gold type deal where rarity was based on whether it was gold or bronze. Since then, it's been changed to pretty much a regular and a special. And to make it a little easier, that doesn't mean they're going to be dropping from the skies, but to make it a little bit easier for players to get some of the more rare cards, you can combine like 5 regular cards into a special card. Now, your character can only have a certain number of cards on themselves at any particular point. So if you level all the way to cap, fill yourself with cards, and you want to replace a card, you either have to destroy the card that you are putting your new card on, or you have to use an item, you guessed it, that can take the card off of you and put it back in your inventory. Again, that item is available in the cash shop. I don't know if it's available in-game at higher levels. So comment below if you've gotten to max level, and you can advise us how rare are the items to redo your cards. All in all, it's not my type of game if I'm going to give you an opinion. It's not something that I'm going to jump into and play all that often. Yep, here I got some cards. That's my card book for you. Look at me. Almost nothing. It's not my type of game. I'm not going to jump into it all the time. I was a huge fan of the original, and this one just doesn't hold up for me. Yes, I can appreciate the nostalgia factor and this game trying to keep some of those elements, but all in all, I think it might have been a little bit rushed. It's still quite buggy, and to me, there's just not the polish or the panache, if you will, on this Ragnarok Online 2 versus its predecessor. So there you go in a nutshell. If you want to see more Dat Game or let us know your opinions or what games we should cover, put it in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click like and subscribe. And what are you doing if you're not coming over onto Gamebreaker.tv, checking out all the other shows we've got available for you there? I can't think of any better way to end this than on that fantastic leveling noise. So, without further ado, come on. Do it. Yes! Fantastic. Until next time, my friends, this is Magic Man saying stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.